Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40k Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and today we're going to be talking about the mechs of the Orc race. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40k lore videos every single day. If you have any suggestions for topics, please comment down below. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the mech boys of the Orcs. Although the majority of the Orc race appears to be brutal and instinctive in nature, the reality is that the average Orc possesses a low level of cunning, specifically designed to make them extremely deadly in combat. Orcs are not dumb. Each and every greenskin has a grasp of rudimentary technology at an instinctual level, meaning that just like a human baby is born with a natural ability to breathe, the average Orc knows how to maintain a Shuda or even a rocket pack as soon as it emerges from its spore sac. This incredible ability was hard-coded into the Orcs' genetic makeup by the Old Ones who created the Orcs, although they called them the Krork. This basic mechanical aptitude possessed by the Greenskins is one of the many reasons why the species has been so successful on countless battlefields. The Greenskins are adaptable and mobile like no other race. While humans take years to educate their soldiers, an Orc boy is fully capable of waging war within minutes. To make the Orcs even more frightfully efficient warmongers, there exists a type of Orc within the Greenskin ranks that possesses a stronger understanding of the building blocks of technology. These mechanically inclined Orcs are commonly known as mech boys, sometimes referred to as mechaniacs or simply mechs. These strange Orcs are blessed with a greater understanding of how to modify elaborate machinery, and also an instinctive willingness to put their skills to use regardless of how risky the modifications will be. Mechs will gladly remove a lock to make a Shuda more deadlier, or overcharge an engine in order to make it go faster, but both conversions have the potential to kill the mech or even the user, but to this odd boy, the thrill of learning something new outweighs the risk. Along with their mechanical and engineering prowess, mech boys also have a knack for assessing the nature, the use, and the value of a given piece of scrap or hardware at a glance. They have been known to break apart abandoned yet functioning vehicles or weapons in order to get the part of the machine that can be used to make things deadlier. Thanks to this keen eye, they excel at using these salvaged and recycled materials to create the improbable devices clamored over by the boys, knobs, and war bosses alike. One of the most common sights after a devastating battle is an Orc mech accompanied by a retinue of a dozen or so Gretchen looting the battlefield, collecting enemy weapons as well as tearing down the foe's wrecked vehicles and salvaging the good bits. This is obviously a dangerous task, not just because the mech is all alone in the battlefield, but much of the debris is in the brink of exploding or in the process of leaking out toxic or radioactive chemicals. All of these things are of no concern to the mech boys, as he is focused on bringing these items back to his mech shop. Orc mech boys always have a designated area of work within the Greenskin settlements. The wisest Orcs stay away from these areas, as explosions and deadly projectiles are common, but that's not to say that an Orc mech is unpopular within the Orc tribe. A mech boy that has earned the reputation of building shootier Shudas or faster bikes will eventually open up a mech shop where his lethal inventions may be purchased for teeth, the common Orc currency. The sounds of sawing, hammering, and the occasional explosion will be heard coming from the mech shop. A mech's tools are almost as terrifying as the weapons he creates. They possess massive spanners, rivet guns, welders, cutting torches, hammers, and crude saws. Each one fits the callous hands of their creator and withstands its constant use and abuse. In their motor pools, workshops, and foundries, mechs gleefully toil away in a cloud of cigar smoke, oil mist, exhaust fumes, and fine metal dust, attended to by small armies of Gretchen servants, tasked with fetching tools, holding parts, and applying lubrication and adhesive. In these clamorous and noisome environments, mech boys and their assistants turn out the countless Shuda, slugga, stick bombs, bits of armor, and other war gear required to feed the ravenous Orc war machine. Mech boys are also driven by a competitive nature of creation. They are constantly tinkering with and customizing their war gear to make their creations twice as deadly as the other mech boys. When these demented minds compete with each other, the result is some of the most terrifying and dangerous war machines that the galaxy has ever seen. Many of these competitions have broken out to an all-out war, where the mechs supply their factions with destructive gear and send them out to the rival mech shops to wreak havoc. As more and more Orcs hear about the fight, they flock to the mech shops, searching for a proper war. These tribal civil wars will continue until one faction is utterly eliminated, where the rival mech is killed, oftentimes by his own creation. There have been tales of mechs succumbing to their own creative hubris and fabricating a weapon so volatile it explodes right in their face. Another one of these stories is how a mech entombed his Gretchen servant inside the chassis of Killa Khans, only to have the army of walkers turn on the abusive mech and tear him apart limb from limb. Sadly, because of this infighting, the majority of new Orc technology will never be seen by the Imperium or any other race of the galaxy. Instead, the creative genius of a mech will always be lost amongst the constant clashing between rival clans. In this way, the obsession with the mechanical has prevented many Orc walls from forming. The Orc technology that has been captured in battle and examined by the Adeptus Mechanicus defies all description and classification. Guided by each individual mech boy's particular vision, no two pieces of Orc equipment are alike. They show no signs of standardization or mass production, and vary so widely in their construction, design, and makeup as to make each piece of equipment essentially unique. As far as any of the learned magos of the priesthood of Mars can determine, the only commonality amongst the Orc technology is that every Shuda, truck, lava, and suit of mega armor seems to be nothing more than a random collection of scrap parts, gubbins, and metal plates patched together in a random fashion that simply should not function as advanced technology. And yet somehow the Orcs' ramshackle vehicles run. Their terrifyingly crude flyers stay in the air despite lacking any kind of aerodynamic qualities, and their weapons fire shattering bursts of slugs or disgorge gouts of flame, plasma, or other types of energy, despite being seemingly nothing more than a collection of flammable junk. Because of these absurd qualities of Orc technology, the mech boys are a crucial part of any proper wall. An Orc mech is one of those odd boys that will always find a place within an Orc clan or tribe. Their position within the hierarchy of Orc society is also very unique. While mechs still follow the traditional values of might makes right, for many mech boys, the value of their skills outweighs their prowess on the battlefield. This doesn't mean that an Orc mech is weak compared to other Orcs. Mech boys have to be tough in order to secure their creations. If a loudmouth Orc enters a mech shop thinking he can steal the best weapon, he will more than likely get a buzzsaw to the throat or be zapped to dust by a mech's custom Mega Blaster. However, every now and then a slightly cunning Orc knob or boss will realize that it's better to protect the mech from other Orcs and allow him to keep creating deadlier weapons for the clan, rather than stomping his throat for one measly custom Shuda. This is why mech boys, or even whole teams of mechs, fall under the protection of a war boss and accompany them into battle, making sure to repair any broken pieces from their warlord's favorite battle wagon, while simultaneously profiting from the best loot after the boss has had his fun. Teams of mech boys have always been reported fighting alongside the deadliest Orc walls. A wise Orc warlord will always have his odd boys creating terrifying vehicles, artillery pieces, and weapons common to an Orc army. Mech boys are also in charge of securing resource lines and tapping into stolen energy grids as the green tide stomps across a planet. Mechs will often improve resource extractions for most worlds, as they know exactly what to tear down in order to drill for more oil or novocharge a power plant. Unfortunately for the world, the fuel will most likely go to killing the previous inhabitants, and since the Orcs care little about protecting the environment, the ecosystem will soon collapse. At some point, every mech boy will get tired of following orders and test the war boss's mind. That war boss that can't put a mech boy in place with a proper beating will give rise to a big mech. These big mechs secure their place as new bosses after striking down any knob still loyal to the old regime. Like all other Orcs, a big mech will get much bigger and stronger than a normal boy, and will boss around a retinue of not only Gretchen, but lower-ranking mech boys. These teams of mechs will build bigger and shootier technology, like Gorkanauts and Morkanauts, as well as the lethal Stompas. They will either lead their own walls, or sell their skills to other clans. Orc speed freaks are always willing to hire a big mech who promises to make faster, smoke-belching contraptions. The Evil Sun's clan always has at least a couple of mech tribes to satisfy their need for speed. Members of the Bad Moon clan will always toss their teeth towards a wandering band of mechs in exchange for snazzier guns, and the Dead Skull clans always welcome these traveling mechs, selling their latest stolen loot. Every single interaction will result in conflict for the big mech, but if he's tough enough, eventually the big mech will rally enough Orcs from different clans under his banner. These mechs are known as mech bosses, and instead of leading a team of mechs into battle, they will launch entire earth-breaking walls. These mech boss armies will look very similar to regular Orc walls. That is until the boss's personal retinue of mega armored knobs, death dreads, and cyborg Orcs tear through the battlefield. The mech guns that accompany a mech boss can even rival the firepower of the Tau Empire, because half the time they're stolen from the Tau Firecast. And then there's the mech boss himself, which is usually a towering green skin covered in armor plating and showing off his latest inventions, augmented with kill saws, power claws, shock attack guns, custom force fields, and so much more. These monstrosities even shadow the Mega Dreads on the battlefield. No Big Mech has ever been more infamous than mech boss Orchimedes. This mysterious and larger-than-life mech boy served under the Orc warlord Godskull Margorok Thraka. Although this Orc technological genius has never been identified, his handiwork has been reported on many Imperial worlds, including the Orc invasion of the hive world of Armageddon. Orchimedes is the reason the Imperium of Man has had such a hard time dealing with the Great Beast. Godskull has combined his visionary strategies and the Big Mech's innovative teleporter machines to outmaneuver the forces of the Imperium on countless battlefields. On countless occasions, Godskull has tricked an enemy into attacking a seemingly vulnerable Orc warband, only to teleport overwhelming numbers into the fray as the battle unfolds, turning the tide in the favor of the greenskins. Orchimedes is also responsible for creating heavily customized Gargants and Orc submersibles. As such, he is one of the most highly sought-after priority targets for assassination by the Imperium's Officio Sissonorum. There is also the Death Skull Big Mech, known as Fragrak the Planet Smasher. He vowed he would surpass all other Death Skulls by looting an entire world. By jerry-rigging a combination of tractor beams, ram ships, and city-sized rocket boosters, he was able to push the third moon of Taurobrax out of its orbit, directly onto a collision course with the parent world. The resulting catastrophe rendered all life on the thriving Imperial hive world extinct. He fractured continents, boiled the seas, and burned away the world's atmosphere, finally reducing Taurobrax to a drifting debris field. Satisfied with his work, Big Mech Planet Smasher took his pick of the choicest asteroids, adding thrusters, force fields, and ordnance arrays to turn them into a fleet of rocks with which to spread even more mayhem across the galaxy. The Imperium also knows of Big Mech Warzog, who has a fascination with the technology of the Tau Empire. His band of orcs have made a number of raids against the Velkon Sept. The Big Mech has in fact crafted a special custom force field by looting one of the Tau shield drones and modifying it. He keeps the drone on a chain tether to keep its protection for himself. Warzog has somehow discovered the presence of a number of Deathwatch watch stations. He is currently planning a particularly cunning raid to try and capture some of the Deathwatch esoteric war gear for his own purposes. And those were 40 facts on the mechs of the Orc race. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm not done with this topic. I actually ran out of time, which is why the last part of the video was just the same Orc video over and over again. The editing to the terrain tutorials took up a lot of my time, but that will change. I just need to balance out my time a little bit better. I will revisit this topic because I want to talk about Big Mechs within the Orc Killer Cruises and also the other notable Big Mechs. So future lore videos on this topic to come. If you guys have suggestions for anything else, please comment down below. If you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. If you guys want to support us, just $1 a month. The link is in the description. And thank you ahead of time for liking, commenting, sharing, and supporting us on Patreon. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. This was Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.